What's going on, everyone? It's been another week of training and dieting, and I've got another one of my workouts to share with you. That said, rather than commenting on the specifics of what I'm doing within the training session like I usually do, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to share with you what I think are probably the four most common reasons that hold people back from making muscle growth progress from their time spent at the gym, and what to do instead to turn things around and start making some serious gains. These four reasons will be stemming from my own personal lifting experience as well as the experience I have coaching my clients over the years. If you're watching this right now and you're someone who's been wondering why you haven't been making as much muscle growth progress as you wish you've been making with your time spent at the gym, or if you're simply someone who wants to learn how you might be able to build muscle a little bit more effectively with your time spent at the gym, I think you're going to love this video. So without further ado, let's dive in. The first possible reason is from moving with poor depth. Moving a body part happens when your muscles contract or shorten or extend and stretch out. When controlling the sled as it moves down when doing the leg press, for example, the quads, glutes, and adductors produce force as they extend. To push the sled back up, those muscles produce force as they contract or shorten. Training a muscle effectively for every repetition means having them experience mechanical tension throughout the entirety of their potential lengths. That means both when they're in their shortest position and when they're in their longest position. In fact, it could be that the length and position of each rep might be the most stimulative part of a rep. That means if we want to build as much muscle as possible, we probably don't want to skip that part. So how do we ensure that we don't miss out on that part of each rep? We move as deep as possible. For the leg press, that means bringing the sled as low as it can go at the bottom of each rep. When squatting, that means sitting as far down as possible at the bottom of each rep. When doing a bench press, that means bringing the dumbbells or barbell as low as you possibly can bring them at the bottom of each rep, and so on. From what I've seen, some people seem to avoid the deepest part of the rep. Why? Well, possibly because it's just the hardest part, and it's often human nature to avoid what's most difficult when given the option to. If you're aiming to get the best results possible from your time spent at the gym, however, moving with as much depth as you can and embracing the challenge that comes with it is a must. And if you need to lift a little bit lighter in order to do that, then I would definitely do it. The next possible reason is a simple one. It's from just not training hard enough. To be real, building muscle is difficult. It means exposing your muscles to higher and higher amounts of mechanical tension over time, which is not exactly a walk in the park. From what I've seen, I think sometimes people aren't training as hard as they should be or as hard as they think they are. To be fair, training to a close proximity of failure is a skill and something that for most people is something that's learned from experience. A new lifter, for example, won't know what their limits are until after they've spent time practicing pushing themselves to figure that out. Heck, that's still something that I feel like I'm still learning for myself. I think the best practical advice I can give is, for most people, to aim to do as many reps as they can across all of their programmed exercises, and instead of stopping the set when it starts to just get uncomfortable, try to keep going for as long as you can right up until the weight just won't move anymore. The caveat to that is that you want to do that without training through the wrong kind of injurious pain, which leads me to the next reason. Training through joint or connective tissue pain. No pain, no gain when it comes to building muscle, right? Well, according to my last point, the answer is yes. However, I'll clarify right now that it depends on the kind of pain. Here's an example of what I mean. When doing a hard, long set of lateral raises, I feel an incredible amount of fiery pain on the meat of my delts that I try to withstand and train through for as long as I can tolerate. That kind of pain is good. It's caused from ongoing tension and a buildup of metabolic stress directly on the muscles that I'm trying to stimulate. If, however, I were to experience pain in and around my shoulder joints, powering through it might be a terrible idea. Why? Because it means probably creating a nagging pain or injury. One thing I know both from my own personal experience and my experience working with my clients over the years is that nagging pain disrupts progress. If handled poorly, by continuously trying to train through that kind of pain, it could mean putting yourself out of commission by developing a more serious, long-lasting injury. And that's definitely not good for muscle growth. Or at the very least, it means having to modify what you're doing, which could be at least a little bit disruptive for progress. Although it isn't the end of the world if you need to do that. Avoiding nagging pains or injuries as much as possible is ideal for muscle growth. Thus, avoiding training through joint or connective tissue pain should be a priority. The fourth and final reason is from not training consistently enough. I know many of you have probably heard this a million times already, and I don't want to sound patronizing, so I won't spend much time on it. But muscle growth happens from training consistently over a long period of time. Not just for a few weeks or months, but for many months and years. So going hard for short bursts at a time won't do a whole lot for muscle growth in the grand scheme of things. The real magic happens from training regularly at least 3 times a week. Not 4 times a week for a few times, followed by 1 time the next week, and then falling off for a month, getting back on for 5 days for several weeks, going really hard, and then falling off again. Training consistently every week is where progress really happens. I think the current fitness marketing landscape has left confusion around this basic principle in the sense that it has, for many people, led to the mass development of some unrealistic expectations. Here's an example of what I mean. So, have you ever seen advertisements for programs that promise 60 to 90 day epic transformations? Well, it's true that a lot can be accomplished over 2 to 3 months, mainly a good amount of fat loss and a bit of muscle growth. The problem is that that kind of marketing often leads people to believe that if they train hard for those short periods of time, it will lead to a significant amount of permanent muscle growth. But that's just not really true if you stop training hard after those short time frames of 60 to 90 days. Significant muscle growth progress happens over a much larger time horizon for most people. It's long-term consistency that's really key. And that's it. I'd love to know if you found any of those points to be helpful or relatable. Let me know in the comments. Before we get to the end of the video, I wanted to quickly let you know about the work that I do. When I'm not making YouTube videos, recording podcast episodes, or making Instagram content, I work full-time as an online physique coach where I help my clients to accomplish their muscle growth and fat loss goals by optimizing their approach to strength training and nutrition. I've been doing this work since 2018 and love helping my clients to transform their bodies and ultimately their lives. If you've been considering getting some help with accomplishing your own physique goals, you're invited to hit the link in the description below where you can learn a little bit more about the work that I do and the help that I can offer you. You can use that link to schedule a free video consultation with me too. If you have any questions about my coaching or the help that I can offer you, you can email me at sam@jadeathletics.ca. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.